The government of Argentina declared that the monthly inflation in the South American country soared to 6.7% in March, representing a number that it is way above forecast, and it represents also the highest level of inflation since the famous corralito in the year 2002 in this country. We need to remember that this was a massive political and economic crisis which led the banks to take the savings of Argentines. This was famous, and this was named and this was known as the corralito in Argentina. So in a statement, the country's Index Statistics Agency pointed out that Argentina's annual inflation rate hit essentially 55.1% in the month. We're talking about a huge number. It is a fact that this South American nation has been dealing with a lot of inflation over the last few years, and of course over the last few decades. Argentina has been one of the Latin American countries which has suffered the most this economic phenomenon, which is inflation. So experts in Argentina, different economists in Argentina, predict that the country's inflation will reach nearly 60% this same year. That definitely takes a steep toll in Argentines, almost 40% of whom already live in poverty. In addition to inflation, Argentina has a huge poverty crisis that has been exacerbated since the beginning of the COVID pandemic. So this situation is essentially the consequence of many protectionist and statist economic policies that many Argentina's governments have embraced over the last few years, and of course over the last few decades, especially since the rise of former populist and authoritarian General Juan Domingo Perón. In fact, even the recent right-wing administration of former president and currently opposition leader Mauricio Macri didn't do anything relevant to change this delicate reality that Argentina has been suffering for so long, essentially. And the reason why he refused to make any significant change was only because of the political cost. In Latin America, there is a lot of social investment from the government. There is a lot of public spending. So the fact that a government decides essentially to take some liberal approach to break essentially this problem, this will always have a huge political cost in Latin America. A political cost that sometimes even get presidents out of power. We have seen this in many countries of Latin America over the last few decades. So another consequence of this situation has been the rise of an unexpected outsider, such as economist Javier Milei, who is a libertarian, which is of course a rare and radical position in a country such as Argentina. So what is currently taking place in Argentina is the greatest example of how an economic crisis could lead to some social problems, and on the other hand can lead to the rise of some unexpected political candidates. Reporting from Medellin, Colombia, Luis Orozco, Newsweek.